British music is being ruined by industry plant, nepo baby, daddy's money, privately educated rich singers like Lola Young, who come in, they wear their class aesthetics as if they're working class, and they're clearly not, and they're taking up all of the oxygen space from actually working class musicians.
I don't disagree with that. I actually think that it's more a problem with a lack of funding for working class people to even have an opportunity to get started in any kind of arts or music industry at all. And I think the saddest thing about it is, like you said there, the fact that people from upper class backgrounds, richer people, whatever it may be, feel like they have to pretend to be working class. It's not just in music either. It happens in football all the time. As soon as they're releasing a new shirt, it's like, oh, we're going back to the pub to do this launch.
I think an important thing to remember, though, is that with British music, a lot of the big British bands from back in the day were all working class bands that then came up from somewhere. So it's kind of seen as the main thing to try and be. So I can understand why these bigger artists think, you know what, I've got to hit that demographic because that's how people are going to relate to me. But I don't think they realise that if they were just themselves in their own way, they would then get a market that would probably be quite similar.
Yeah, totally agree. So, I mean, I was looking at this last night just to make sure I was like ready. 7% of people in the UK are in some way privately educated. In the last, I think it was 10 years or so, 50% of people nominated for a Brit Award were privately educated.
See, it's undeniable at that moment, isn't it? Yeah. Once you realise that stat, there is no debate in the fact. However, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I do think sometimes like people are just talented, and working class people obviously don't have the opportunity to even show that talent in the first place a lot of the time. But sometimes I think, all right, well, if you're a great songwriter or a great singer or a guitarist or something, obviously you still deserve the opportunity to go pursue that passion, and them becoming successful in itself isn't a problem, but it's that cosplaying that's a problem. Absolutely.
And I want to take two artists to contrast to really show that point, because absolutely, if you're talented, I don't care where you've come from. If you come from money and a talented, great. If you come from no money and talent, great, right? So two people that exemplify this for me are Fred again and Lola Young, right? Because Fred again, unashamedly, that man is rich. Like, he is as far up the social totem pole as it's possible to be. And he totally he is how he is. He makes the music that he wants in the way that he wants to do it. And he just does what he wants in life. And I think everybody respects that. Nobody's calling him an industry plant. He's rich, but nobody's calling him a nepo baby. He worked at it. He was indescribably talented. And, it's been a massive success. Lola Young, on the other hand, every video you see of her, top comment is always people going, why is she here? She's not earned this. She's not got this success. I mean, people say, oh, her aunt's in, the woman who did the Gruffalo. That's actually, because I was checking this out, it's a tiny part of that story, right? So everybody...
The Gruffalo?
Yeah. Her auntie wrote the Gruffalo.
What the fuck?
Which is the number one best-selling British kids book of all time or something, right? Yeah. People think that that's why she's a nepo baby. That's not the reason. So the aunt that wrote the Gruffalo, right, she got her beginning making music for CBBC. Where did Lola Young get her break? She won a competition for CBBC. From there, she went into Brit School. From Brit School, industry plant, straight into the music industry. Right? So that is the nepo baby to industry plant pipeline exemplified in one.
Do you not think there's also an issue there between it being singers versus being, let's say, EDM artists, like with Fred again as an example? When you're a singer, it's a lot more easy to kind of fall into becoming a certain type of person. So when you have to present yourself on stage as that person, you have to pick a lane and stay in that lane. And obviously she's then going for like the working class, like I've come from nowhere kind of background. Whereas Fred again doesn't really have to say anything when he's on stage if he doesn't want to. He doesn't have to be a persona. The music speaks for itself.
That's a good point. On a more broad level, I think that it's kind of something that's happening with society at the same time, though. And maybe I actually think when I was growing up, the idea of someone seeming really rich and wearing all the designer clothes and X, Y, and Z was the cool thing. And that's what musicians wanted to portray. Even working class musicians a lot of the time wanted to portray that they were actually quite well off and had the stuff together. Obviously, there was the like Brit indie era where that kind of got eradicated a little bit. But then the whole of society has kind of gone to, even now most rich kids are wearing Carhartt and Dickies, what was workwear.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the cool thing to wear at the minute. So I think that Lola Young's kind of seen that and gone, maybe she is just, like, again, playing devil's advocate, maybe she's just a young person following the trends that a lot of young rich people are at the minute.
Yeah, so I think the reason that I was bringing up Brit School in particular
That does prove.
is because my question is really, do these people have any of their own ideas? Do they have any of their own artistic merit? Or actually, is Brit School going, this is a trend, we need somebody that can capitalise on this trend and then pushes that person through? So I did a little bit of research, yeah. So this is, and I've got to say, this shocked me, because I looked at who's come through Brit School recently, and some of my faves are in here.
Oh, no.
So it's not even that these people are completely untalented, but we've got to accept what Brit School, and I'll do the same thing again for privately educated afterwards. So this is just a little list of who's come through Brit School recently. Adele, Amy Winehouse, FKA Twigs, Jessie J, Kate Nash, Leona Lewis, Lola Young, Loyal Kana, Ray, Rizzle Kicks.
Oh, no.
Oh,
not Rizzles.
Yeah,
not the Rizzles.
Yeah. It hurt me. It hurt me to see.
The thing is, though, with a lot of those artists on there, I can completely see that being a thing, but most of them do have talent outside of having to be forced through Brit School, like Adele and Amy Winehouse. Like arguable that they are amazingly talented musicians.
And surely there's a path to Brit School that doesn't revolve around money. Surely
Absolutely.
some of those picks they've just found and gone, no, they're actually good, and we need to give so many places to lower class people.
Completely. I don't know the selection criteria, but I think the point I was making is about the level of industry collusion in bringing people up through the ranks.
Does that not then negate the point that you were making that Lola Young would be an industry plant of sorts, because we've got other artists in there that are actually talented?
I think the point more was that she found her original recognition through CBBC, where Auntie was already.
So what I'm saying is it's a unique collection of these leg ups that she got. So she was rich. I can't remember if she's private educated or not, but she was rich. She's also got the connections. She then got thrown through the BBC route, then into Brit School, and it's like every possible thing was given to her. And that's why I used against Fred again, who was just very clearly, nobody is questioning if he was talented enough. Nobody's questioning if Adele was talented enough or Amy Winehouse.
Well, I hate to bring it up, but Matty Healy. He's a nepo baby.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Undoubtedly, but he's fine with it. He's never pretended to be a working class kid. He's always been like, nah, my mum's rich and famous. My dad's rich and famous. That's fine.
And he's also never pretended to be talented either, so that's perfectly fine.
To be fair, he probably wouldn't even say himself that he was that talented. But to kind of move away from this one, I completely agree, but sometimes I think that it can go a little bit too far in terms of it's hard to completely pin it all down on wealth. Like, I think the Lola Young example that you just went through is completely fair because she just had leg up after leg up after leg up. Whereas I'm sure there's some examples where someone's rich and just is really talented.
Yeah, okay, and I agree with you. So that was just Brit School. So I want you to remember that, right? Because then I looked at privately educated. So are you ready for who? And again, neither of these lists are exhaustive. This was a 10-minute Google I did yesterday, right? So privately educated, Fred again, obviously, Ed Sheeran, The Last Dinner Party, Charlie XCX, A.G. Cook, who was the producer for Brat, Florence and the Machine, Mark Ronson, Dua Lipa, Lily Allen, Jamie T, Coldplay, Mumford & Sons, The Maccabees, Busted, McFly, Chemical Brothers, Arlo Parks.
I mean, they do all scream big Tory energy, so you know what I mean? All of those artists in there, I could see, even with Busted and McFly, you look at them, you look at how they carry themselves, they're the edgy version of a well-off person.
I wouldn't say Ed Sheeran going to private school surprises me, especially given his SBTV stuff back in the day.
But his come-up was unrelated to that entirely.
Completely unrelated.
He's grinded to get to where he is.
We
So
were talking about
regardless of the education, Ed Sheeran is probably an enigma in that list.
Shout out to all the younger viewers who've not seen Ed Sheeran's SBTV, because that was incredible. Like, and he has absolutely earned his place.
And even last year, when the founder of SBTV passed away, he went back on and did a video for him. So he's kind of stayed in touch with his roots there, which is nice. But that list does surprise me, and I think it should alarm a lot of people that a lot of those people you just mentioned, Dua Lipa, Coldplay, like Glastonbury headliners, huge acts, and they're all privately educated. And it does just point towards a lot of the big music artists in the last 10, 15 years all come from that same background. And
it's the saying that just rings true in every industry. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. And I think that's why for me, that list, like I said, it's not. I didn't catch everybody, but those two lists, that's a very large percentage of British musicians who are making waves right now. So I'm concerned that not only do musicians from underprivileged backgrounds not get the opportunities, but actually there are just so many other people taking up that space that even if you were quite talented as somebody from Manchester or somebody from Newcastle or somebody from Scotland, you're not even going to get the chance to showcase it because, well, we're already kind of full, if that makes sense. Yeah. There's already plenty of acts doing plenty of things, but they're all the people who could afford to. Now, I think the thing is that if you come from a privileged background, it's not necessarily that you're going to be better or worse within that talent, but you've got more opportunities and you can take more risks.
Yeah, you can just not have a job.
You can just not have a job because you know that at the end of the day, you can go back and mummy and daddy will pay for your flat. You know, Ed Sheeran, great example because he's super talented, really deserves it. But his whole thing of I'm going to not have a job and just go around busking, he knew he was safe by doing that. Whereas somebody who's, you know, like Sam Fender, I think said this recently, you know, he was talking about how for him it was such a big risk versus other people. It's just not. You know, it's so much harder for people with no money, no safety nets, no houses back at home, no rich relatives, all this sort of stuff. So I think we're really running the risk of not allowing even the talented people to come up and show us what they're made of because all these well-off, well-educated, privately backed individuals are taking up all the room.
Yeah, it's practically impossible for someone without money or a wealthy family to even try get into the arts at this point. Even now to the point where, like, really most working class families in the UK probably can't afford to get them a guitar, send them to lessons, send them to a recording space or whatever, even for one session. It's literally not a possibility.
I think the last time that we saw a wave of musicians come up that was kind of, you know, self-created and from their own backgrounds would probably be the SoundCloud rap era, where people were just uploading music online, but there really hasn't been a boom of that kind of art since then.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, right? So for me, we had that, and they were all individuals, and they were all individuals doing things that didn't need money. So you didn't need space, you didn't need equipment. You could just do that at home on your own. And I think that's why we're seeing such a lack of bands coming up. The last time we had a big band resurgence is probably around the time of the financial crisis when everything went arse up, right? And then suddenly nobody had any money. People were selling off their equipment and people were able to pick it up. And I think that's why we're not seeing bands form, because where have you got space? If you're a bunch of 14, 15-year-olds, so imagine you're going to be the next Arctic Monkeys. Where are you going to perform? What you know 4 other people who've all got instruments, who've all got time to do it, and who they've got a garage or something to perform in. It's just not happening nowadays because people can't afford it. Like, if your parents can't afford to put you on, you're not getting anywhere. So I think that's why we're just, you know, we talk about pop punk a lot, you guys, on this. I just think we're never going to see that come back in this country in this way. And we're seeing it kind of a little bit in America at the moment. On TikTok a lot, you see, you know, those, is it young...
Oh, that group in the mum's garage that's like playing, and they've had like All American Rejects and stuff interacting with them and reposting the stuff,
So I love that, but I don't think we're going to get that here, because in America, space is cheap. Therefore, pretty much everybody has a massive garage. And
there's a large abundance of areas that you could just go to, isn't there?
Yeah. Whereas here, even if you did have 4 mates who were all musical and you had the time to do it, you're not going to have the space to do that and the money for the equipment. So I think we're in a space where the only thing you can do now, if you are poor and musical, is try and do electronica, try and do SoundCloud rapping.
Yeah, it's rapping.
Yeah, because that's what you can do without having that money and that advantage to start off with. So I think unless the government do something about it, we're not going to see the next Arctic Monkeys, Beatles, you know, whoever else, big English, British band that come from a working class background. I think the opportunity is just gone.
And let's be real, the government is never going to do anything about it. So I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think we've covered that one pretty well. So thanks for watching. Please remember to hit like and subscribe. We'll catch you again soon.